This past weekend, I had the most incredible experience of delivering a TEDx, a really bucket list event for me. And I wanted to share a couple of things that I learned from it that people have been asking me about and that I just don't want to forget that I used. So, firstly, people have asked me, like, where'd you come up with the idea? And that's simple. I had actually attended this free workshop, which wasn't really a workshop. It ended up being an enormous sales pitch that was a $10,000 price tag gig to have someone help me prepare a TEDx. The good news is I was able to not pay that and do this on my own for nothing. But what this person said in that sales pitch actually turned out being really helpful because he said, if you were to get on the top of a mountain and scream down to the bottom of the mountain for 10 minutes and everyone's going to listen, what would you say? And I thought about that question for weeks on end. And then I thought about it for months on end as I drafted my drafts and more months as I revised my drafts. So I ended up with my ideas really based on that initial question, which I found really exciting. So the second thing I wanted to talk about then is how I memorized it. And I used an age-old idea of how to memorize called the memory palace. It's highlighted in this book, Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua Thor. And he also has an awesome TED Talk that summarizes the book. So I highly recommend that. And from that, I learned what a memory palace is. And I've practiced it over the years, but only in like certain pieces. I've never actually memorized something that had to be in order the way that a speech like this would have to be in order without missing any pieces. And it was an incredible strategy. So I'm just going to really summarize that strategy quickly so other people can. So you have to start with a space that you're very familiar with. I'm here in my tutoring center, a space I'm very familiar with. I know the items in it. I know how the space flows. And you need a space that has distinct parts. So I suppose a room might work, but I think it's even better when you have multiple rooms. So like your house, an apartment, something like that. And you begin by walking through the space and somehow making an association, the stranger the better, to an item in that space or part of that space that will trigger a part of the speech. So I'll show you what I did for mine. So all I did was take a space with which I am very familiar. And I'm going to walk you through this space right now because every single item you are seeing on this video triggered an idea or a particular phrase. Everything from the globe, where I said that is when I knew that punctuation could save the world, to a calendar, which is when I would say that I would ask the audience, how often in a day do they think about punctuation? Over to my computer where I talk about communication, and the wire where I would talk about connection, to the podium where I would mention talking about all of the punctuation marks. And even on things you don't see, I imagine things. So I actually imagined this huge Superman that was standing right in the middle of the hallway. And every single item that you see on this video triggered the idea or the sentence that I needed to remember next. So if I ever got confused or lost, I would know exactly where to pick up because I would be standing in that space. If you read Moonwalking with Einstein or you watch the TED Talk of it, you'll see that our spatial intelligence is so strong. So if we can use that intelligence to memorize, then we can memorize far more than we ever thought we could. If we're memorizing like from a piece of paper or from, note cards, it's so much harder because we're not using our spatial intelligence, whereas a memory palace uses that visual spatial intelligence. So this is my memory palace that you're seeing. And if you do listen to the TEDx, you'll actually probably be able to tell why and how I set each item or each part of this video to a particular idea.